Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining today's daily call. Welcome to the daily call of His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj. So today, Maharaj will continue to enlighten us from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwaraka, verse 15. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for your time and association. I'll share the verse, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please take over.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mudanga Sakam Yadascha. Yunapanava Bhomikaha. Yunduranaka Datarya. Nedadundu Mayastataha. Translation. While the Lord was departing from the palace of Hastinapur, different types of drums like the mridanga, dola, nagra, dunduri, and dudubi, and flutes of different types, the veena, gomukya, and bari, all sounded together to show him honor. Next verse. Prasada Sikara Ruda Purnaya Diriksaya Vavasu Susmu Kusumumai Krishna Prema Vrida Smitekshanaha. Translation. Out of a loving desire to see the Lord, the ladies of the Kurus got up on the top of the palace and, while smiling with affection and shyness, showered flowers upon the Lord. Purport. Shyness is a particular extra-natural beauty of the fair sex, and it commands respect from the opposite sex. This custom was observed even during the days of the Mahabharata, for instance, more than 5,000 years ago. It is only the less intelligent persons, not well versed in the history of the world, who say that observance of separation of female from male is an introduction of the Mohammedan period in India. This incident from the Mahabharata period proves definitely that the ladies of the palace observed strict parda, restricted association with men, and instead of coming down in the open air where the Lord was, and others were assembling the ladies of the palace went to the top of the palace and from there paid their respects to the Lord by showering of flowers. It is definitely stated here that the ladies were smiling there on the top of the palace. They checked their shyness. This shyness is a gift of the natural fair sex and enhances their beauty and prestige. Even if they are of a less important family, or even if they are less attractive. I'll read that again. This shyness is a gift of nature of the fair sex, and it enhances their beauty and prestige, even if they are of less important family, or even if they are less attractive. We have practical example of this. We have practical example of this fact. The sweeper women commanded the respect of many respectable gentlemen simply by manifesting a lady's shyness. Half-naked ladies in the streets do not command any respect, but a shy sweeper's wife commands respect from all. Go all the way up to the end. Human civilization, as conceived of by the sages of India, is to help one to free oneself from the clutches of illusion. The material beauty of a woman is an illusion because actually the body is made of earth, water, fire, air, etc. But because there is an association of the living spark within matter, it appears to be beautiful. No one is attracted by an earthen doll, even if it's most perfectly prepared to attract the attention of others. The dead body has no beauty because no one will accept the dead body of a so-called beautiful woman. Therefore, the conclusion is that the spirit spark is beautiful, and because of the soul's beauty, one is attracted by the beauty of the outward body. The Vedic wisdom, therefore, forbids us to be attracted by false beauty. But because we are now in the darkness of ignorance, the Vedic civilization allows very restricted mixing of women and man. They say that the woman is considered to be like fire and the man is considered to be like butter. The butter must melt in the association with fire, and therefore they must be brought together only when it is necessary. And shyness is a check to the unrestricted mixing. It is nature's gift, and it must be utilized. Chaksun militam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Stop, 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 stop. Go up again, up, up. Don't keep bouncing around. Go up, up, more up, up, up. The other way, bring the purport up more, 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 more. Keep going until you get to the end of the purport, then stop. Keep going. Okay, stop. Oh, you went too far. Too far. Go down again. Revati. Just bring the purport base to the bottom and leave it at that. Keep going down until you get to the edge of the purport. Stop. No, you went too far again.
Oh, yeah, sorry, just the purport. Just the
Can you
purport.
help her?
Yeah.
Can you help her? She doesn't know what she's doing here.
Yeah, just the purport, Maharaj. Guru Maharaj.
I told you, just just leave it where it was when I ended. Now you keep bouncing it all over the place.
Oh,
Bring it up. So the end of the purport is at the bottom of the page. That is the main section of the text, and that's what I want to see. Okay, okay, okay. Whoop, stop, 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 stop.
yes, Guru Maharaj, I stopped it, but it's taking time to stop, I think, because of internet. It's like, yeah. Is it okay, Guru Maharaj? Like,
Go down a little. Hit it once.
yeah, is it, yeah, a little bit.
Again. When I say stop, just take your finger off the button. Stop, stop. Keep going, keep going. Go down farther, farther, farther. Okay, stop right there.
Yes, Gurumaj, I stopped.
Okay. Omagyantamirandasya Janardana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha. Wa Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthana Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamay Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachari Nainer Vise Sasunyavadi Pastyat Yudaya Sikarama Vanshikopatori Guscha Pipa Sindhu Pevicha Patitanam Bhavano Yo Vaishnava Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Okay, this is a very instructive verse and purport. It's the foundation by which civilization flourishes, and that is protection of the women class. As we have been shown through the Bhagavatam, 5 types of persons, 5 categories of persons require protection. Not that they can protect themselves, they require protection. And that is women, children, elderly people, cows, and brahmanas. If the society fails to do that, the whole society goes to hell. It's an offense to these living entities, and it's an offense upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who personally gives this statement in his own words. So here we see what is the proper conduct that is done with interaction on the social, and we might even say on a familial level. And that is, there is a quality of that interaction is that one should associate only for the purpose of that particular association. In other words, that its purpose is defined by scripture, by guru. In other words, brahmacharis don't associate with women. They keep their distance 100%. In certain cases, when there is emergencies and it's unavoidable, that association or that interaction takes the form of right to the point, and then we end it there. With husband and wife, that association is done in a restricted way according to Vedic culture. In other words, one should not simply associate with one's husband or wife simply for sense gratification. Of course, there is a time when there is the procreation of children, which is required for the marriage. And that association is done also under rules and regulations. And then, of course, outside of that, just like it says that if a woman is living at home and her husband has to go out to travel to do his business, she does not dress nicely or attractively, because that is only for her husband or when she's with her husband. And that way she doesn't become an attractive feature when the husband is not personally present. So this is just an example of how there are the culture of relationships is the foundation by which develops Krishna consciousness. In the in the Vedas, it is said that there is what is called sambandha. Sambandha means relationships. And in that category, it talks about the different kinds of relationships and the qualities of those relationships. And in order for that to be understood, one has to know, obviously, what is the quality of that relationship. So here you see, although these queens, they saw Krishna from the roof. They didn't feel that they should go personally down to speak because they were naturally trained in the element of womanly shyness. Prabhupada says the shyness of a woman is the, what does he call it? He calls it the moderation valve. He calls it a valve. A valve is something you turn on and off in order to get something or to restrict something. So women use their shyness or employ shyness in different situations in order to exhibit certain characteristics and qualities and to move things according to the relationship. Therefore, it says a woman's shyness is her strength. Prabhupada makes an example of here how he and his friend were talking together. He doesn't expand on this, but you can hear it on his lecture. And they were standing in one room. No, they were standing on the outskirt of the room. And it was a very simple sweeper room. And both of them were talking. And the sweeper woman had to go inside and clean the room. I mean, she had to pass by both of these men. Prabhupada was one of them. So she stood outside in a very shy way, not moving. And then the indication was, okay. And so Prabhupada said, then we took note and we moved aside so she could go. This is proper etiquette, proper culture. This is civilized human society. But nowadays, we see how women are their bodies are thrown all over the environment in various types of advertisement and also different types of licentious activities that go on in the name of various types of entertainment. But who has any respect for such? Therefore, the woman class loses respect because, or people who act like that, they don't bring respect upon them. Why? Because they're not respectable. It's kind of like low class, you might say. But even in Vedic culture, low class women wouldn't act like that. Therefore, they were also considered respectful because they followed that principle of the quality of shyness when it was imperative in order to carry on their service. Of course, they always are meant to be shy. So shyness, sometimes people think, well, it's an inhibition, and it somehow or other limits of the woman's. So nowadays women think, well, I have to get out in the workforce. I have to prove that I'm just as good as the men. I have to show that I can do the same work as the men and maybe even better. And they want to somehow or other convince themselves and try to convince others, which hardly ever works. And that there is a certain material equality between the sexes, which is not. In the material world, there is no equality. You can't find equality hardly anywhere. In the spiritual world, there is only equality. On the spiritual platform, everyone is seen as a spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna, and is given due respect accordingly. That is the equality, and what people are engaged accordingly to their nature. But in the material world, women banded themselves around like they are, trying to prove something to others by this. And the whole idea of motherhood has somewhat become lost, or you might say submerged, in this idea of female brashness, where they don't want to stay home, they want to work, they don't want to take care of children. If they do take care of children, they do it for a little while and then give it to the grandparents or to the different agencies to monitor, to watch the kids. And that's why we have a very dysfunctional society of young people growing up, because they never had parental or full parental care and love, especially coming from the mother. So so this verse goes right to the point. And even not a low-class man, but an ordinary man will appreciate the shyness of a woman because it is her ornament like that. Now, some people criticize that shyness is just, that idea of shyness is just to keep women in the background. But if you understand from Vedic culture, Krishna says that that is the most important, not Krishna, Manu Samhita says it, and which is also confirmed. Manu Samhita says the most important personality in existence is Krishna. And second is mother. Mother is considered to be such a high and esteemed position that it's glorifiable. One who is a mother is a person who has given a large part of their life to bring up others in a way that they can live life happily, healthily, and beneficially. A mother is one who nurtures, or one whose mother gives affection, one whose mother who is able to see things as they are and make adjustments when it's necessary. So motherhood is actually a high ideal. In fact, the United States of America, which is very famous for doing what they call surveys, decided to find out if you delineate or list all of the duties that a woman does throughout the day, from the time she begins her day to the end. They try to calculate that in terms of financial connections. A woman's day, a woman would be paid $45,000 a year for the work she did, if she were to be paid for her home-like activities. So it's not a small position, but it's been relegated to some kind of lesser importance. So womanhood is the basis. Therefore, when Krishna was trying to encourage Arjuna to fight, Arjuna came up with a few reasons, which Prabhupada says were very sound reasons. And one of them says that if we fight and we kill the personalities on the other side who are our friends and relatives, then what will happen to the woman class? The woman class will be unprotected, and that will cause unscrupulous people to come and take advantage of that, and then there'll be Vana Sankara, or unwanted population. And then he says, when there is unwanted population, the whole society goes to hell. So, I mean, Krishna acknowledged all of Arjuna's statements, and that is also a fact, but Krishna had another plan in mind. So he went ahead with his plan, and at the same time, the Vana Sankara never came because of Krishna's arrangement at the end of the battle of Kurukshetra. So here we have something very important. So so as Prabhupada says, woman is like fire and man is like butter. If you put the two together, then there is melting, and then there is unwanted activity, or maybe even difficulties in relationships because of that. So putting them together means putting them together in relationship to what is required according to social and ecclesiastical or religious necessities as governed by a society. When Draupadi would have to travel from place to place, they would arrange a palanquin for her, which had a canopy over it. And she would sit in the palanquin, and she would be carried by 4 men to the next place. And no one would see her because she would be covered by the palanquin. Even to see a woman out by herself in public was considered to be what we say low class. Low class. So now you see how society has gravitated so strongly away from the original culture. And that's just one of the elements on how society has become somewhat demoniac in all aspects. And the exploitation of women, Prabhupada used to say that women's liberation, this was created by man. He said women's liberation was created by man to loosen the bonds of women so there would be free prostitutes roaming the streets. Then if you go a little deeper into that and investigate, you'll find that what Prabhupada said was exactly correct. And then, of course, now it's being taken advantage of. So, therefore, the reestablishment of the Vedic culture is the foundation by which human civilization can again become, what we say, normal and ultimately grow into a spiritual civilization. And one of the most important is the protection and care of the women class. As Prabhupada said, when a woman is growing up in the family, she's protected by her father. When she is married, she's protected by her husband. And when she is, if she is separated from her husband at the end of life, then she's protected by her old elder sons. Of course, there is another consideration, which is added to by the feature of spiritual practice, and that is women will go to a holy place and live their life out in the holy place and finish their life in that holy place, worship the deity in that holy place, and go back home, back to Godhead. It's an easy trip. It's an easy, not the word trip, it's an easy way by which a woman can actually reach perfection. Or she finishes her life, goes to a holy place, dedicates herself fully to the worship of the deity, that is the Istadev in there. It's like in Mayapur, we have Radha Madhava. In Vrindavan, we have Radha Shamsundar. In every holy place, there are, prominent deities that are considered to be the worshipful deity. If a woman does that, finishes her life, then Taktva Deham Purna Janmani, 19 Maniti Sojourn, I go back home, back to Godhead. Okay, so therefore, one should study this verse. Don't think it is antiquated, old-fashioned, irrelevant, what is it? What's the other word? Chauvinistic. These are the words that are being used when you try to restrict the woman's activities and the restriction for the woman's activities, as Prabhupada clearly says, is for the benefit of the woman. It's not restriction for the sake of restriction. It benefits her and allows her to go, just like we see with Lord Chaitanya. when Lord Chaitanya decided to take sannyas, he left his young wife, Vishnupriya. She was only 16 years old. He left his very qualified mother who had no other protection. And he left. Of course, he put them on both under the care of their personal servant in the house. What was his name? Can't think of his name. Anyway, he took care of both of them. But what was interesting is that Vishnupriya, now a widow at such a young age, decided that she would not engage in any other activity except chanting the holy names and worshiping their deities. And she lived from the age of 16 to the age of 96. She lived for 80 years. And every day she would chant the holy names of the Lord. She would take 1 grain of rice and put it aside at the end of every round of japa. And at the end of that day, she would cook those rice, and that was what she ate that day. She did that for 80 years. That was Vishnupriya. He was very, very devoted. And of course, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was her husband. But she's also teaching chastity for the women. So this is a very extensive subject. We can speak about this continuously for a long time, but we'll move on and take discussions. So I'm ready. You can fire your questions at me.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yeah, Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for this class explaining about shyness, how the shyness is like an ornament, a natural beauty for the woman, and how woman, like, by exhibiting shyness, how she exhibits certain qualities. Thank you so much again for this class. I'll open up for the questions. Dear devotees, if you have any questions, comments, or realizations, please, you can unmute yourself, or you can type in the chat box, or you can raise your hand. It's a very important topic. I would really encourage, and also I would humbly request, if possible, please turn on your cameras.
If we don't discuss these subjects, the mind creates its own wrong attitude. And that is called the secrecy of the mind, and it makes its own conclusion. Therefore, Prabhupada wanted us to bodhyantas parasparam katyantas chamam nityam tushanti cha ramanti cha. It's important that we discuss the topic, even if it is controversial, even if it's difficult to approach. Why? Because we reveal the spiritual essence and the knowledge that is needed to understand things in relationship to the Vedic philosophy. Don't be afraid to come forward and ask your questions. If you feel like your questions are not the best, it can spark a conversation, and that's what we want.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Thank you very much for this very nice lecture. It was very helpful. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes, Rajesh Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj, my pranams, and Hare Krishna, all devotees. Really amazing verse, Maharaj. First, I just want to say thank you for some gratitude, and then a question, if I may. So I was very blessed to have your association, your blessings in Mayapur, and that gave me a lot of spiritual strength, because it was pretty much the next day that I was. I brought my mother's ashes, to do the final ceremony and rites in the Ganges and in Mayapur. So this verse is particularly special at the moment and resonates on many levels. Maharaj, my question is, at the moment, in how we're sort of living in modern society, is it because that society and leadership isn't sort of really there as society as a whole, that women aren't being protected in the way Vedas and our scriptures explain, and so that's why people live in the ways that they do, and how can we sort of change?
The goal of modern society? What's the goal of modern society? If you understand what is the goal of modern society, you can understand why there are so many problems. There's two goals: one, economic gain, and sense gratification. There's no real elements of aesthetic and moral values being taught in our schools or exhibited by our leadership. We find even the leaders today are always caught with some kind of scandal. The ones that are supposed to be the top leaders in the society, because there is, that's the way society is. This is Kali Yuga, Kaler Dosha Nidhi Rajan. This age is an ocean of faults, and people are not trained either in moral or religious principles, and what to speak about spiritual practice. The Prabhupada would give a very strong statement: the whole society is hogs, dogs, camels, and asses. It's an animal society. Look at the advertisement. The advertisement always uses some kind of attractive female as a way attention getter to the particular product that they're trying to sell. Because they know this is where people look. So they have some voluptuous lady or some lady with big smiles giving some cute statements to somehow or other bring you into buying the product. I remember I heard from one of my godbrothers. He was telling me he was doing some construction work. So he was laying tiles on the floor. So he ran out of tile glue. So he went to the hardware store to get some tile glue. And while he was there, he was looking at the shelves and he saw 19 different brands of tile glue. So he's thinking, which one should I get? So he decided to talk to the proprietor. And he asked the proprietor, which one would you recommend I buy? And the proprietor says, well, basically they're all the same. But there's this one here everyone buys. And it was a half-naked girl on the cover of the can. This is the one everyone buys. So this is what they use. They use sensuality to sell a lot of the products are unnecessary. Haribol, Philip,
Thanks,
welcome.
Maharaj.
Thank you.
The devotee who just joined our group, his name, you'll see his name there, it's called Philos. He's from Switzerland, and he's now getting interested in Krishna consciousness. He's been practicing for a while, and now he's becoming more serious in his practice.
So,
So thank you for being, Philip.
Hare Krishna. Welcome, Philos Prabhu. Guru Maharaj, there's a question. Can I read by Philos Prabhu?
You're asking me as a Zoom host whether you can read the question. Think about that.
Yeah. Okay, Guru Maharaj. I'll read the question. So, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. I was invited yesterday to this meeting and I'm a bit shy to ask my question out loud, which might be womanly of me as we have learned. Anyway, I'm wondering about the phenomenon called jealousy in a man-woman relationship. What does the Shastra say? Is there any healthy amount of jealousy? What should a woman do who is overcome by jealousy?
She's what is the cause of the jealousy? Does it indicate in the question?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. What should a woman do who is overcome by jealousy?
What's the cause of it?
I'm wondering about the phenomenon of jealousy in a man-woman relationship.
Jealousy can be caused by so many different factors. Someone is better than oneself. One feels jealous because of that. Jealousy and envy are similar, but jealousy means to relegate one to oneself to a lesser position, and envy means to hate the person who's better than you. So people oh, this person is much better than me, and look how low I am. I can't do as good as that person. Therefore, I feel unhappy. That's jealousy. The cause is another person. A woman might get jealous because her husband is talking to another woman. She also may. Is there any healthy amount of jealousy? Jealousy relegates one to inactivity. Better to deal with the situation in a Krishna conscious way. And rather than just leave it at a feeling jealous, one should approach the situation and inquire into the situation to find out what is the cause, what is the problem with that situation that is causing them jealousy. One has to be humble instead of critical or judgmental. One has to practice that. Jealousy destroys the individual. Envy destroys the individual and tries to destroy the object of one's envy. Envy is worse.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. Pilas Prabhu, is that answered your question? You have any further realization? You have any further inquiries? Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj, for the response to this question. Yeah, the cause of the jealousy. Well, it might be real or not real, but there may be some childhood trauma involved, which puts the individual in a position where they somehow or other get into a mood of jealousy, regardless if there is a real cause for it or not. So yeah. So that was
Well, then that person obviously needs some counseling, some help.
Yeah.
If it's childhood related, because that means going back in time to uproot those anarthas that are, what we say, deep within the psyche. But you find the material world centers around that, these elements. People are jealous of each other. People are envious of each other. People hate each other for no reason. Now they hate each other because people are different. You find today in today's society, unless you come to Krishna consciousness, there's so many problems in relationships. Krishna consciousness teaches that the ultimate relationship is the soul's service to the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna. And the relationship expands itself out and develops also along with that. Krishna, we have a relationship with each and every devotee. And what is that relationship? It's based on service. We try to serve each and every devotee, and that is the relationship that counteracts or overcomes or destroys envy and jealousy and enmity also. Service. Service for the benefit of the object of service. Mhm.
Thank you, Maharaj, for your answer to this question on this topic.
Thank you, Philip. Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji, for that question. So Guru Maharaj, like jealousy means also you mentioned like thinking less about themselves. So what is the why a person thinks less about themselves? What is the root for that? Why do you think they develop those thoughts?
Comparative. They compare themselves with others. Comparing things. Oh, he's better than me. I'm better than him. I could be better than him if I just try harder. Comparative. People are always comparing themselves to something else, to some other person. Stay away from that comparative. Just learn to be yourself. Krishna has created you perfectly. You are perfect on the spiritual platform. On the material platform, you have you may have good qualities, you may have some other qualities that need to get rid of. Just realize that Krishna loves you, and if you serve Krishna, this is the best thing you can do. You'll be happy. Stop this comparative. It's very what we say. What's the word? It causes much confusion when you get into this comparative mood.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, yeah. But sometimes like world is like that. They always compare, each other. Even though we don't want to compare, they always try to compare and they always try to suppress others' feelings.
Yeah, nations compare each other. Well, we are a bigger and stronger, more militarily powerful nation than you are. But that's okay. Give us some time and we'll be better than you. So, everything is based on competition in the material world. You compete over the resources that belong to Krishna. The Arabs think all of the oil belongs to them, and the Western countries want to steal it. So everyone is competing with everyone else. It's just the way it is. Even in the family, there's comparisons. If a parent shows a little extra favor to one child, the other child might feel unhappy.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Guru Maharaj. Yeah, devotees, any further questions, comments, or realizations? I would encourage, if possible, please. Yes, Rajesh Prabhu. Yeah.
Krishna Mataji, Krishna Maharaj. This might be a bit of a controversial question stroke reflection. So, I think Prabhupada said something about, hopefully I don't get this quote too wrong, the degree of success, I think, in ISKCON and after Prabhupada left his body, it sort of depends on how well we cooperate with each other.
Yeah.
In relationships, I kind of hear that, a lot of devotees have quite a high divorce rate. And does that cooperation sometimes not extend within, the home and internal relationships as much as it could, perhaps?
This is a feature of the modern age. When I grew up, I was born in the late 40s. I grew up in the 50s, early 60s. I didn't know any of my friends whose parents were divorced. or anybody in the school whose parents were divorced. There used to be a TV show at that time called Divorce Court. They would take these divorced people and turn it into a show as a novelty because it wasn't happening. That was in the late 50s and 60s. I used to watch the show. I was thinking, what is this, So, and you'll see, and that was like 60 years ago. Now look at the difference. And about 20 years ago, the divorce rate in the United States was 70%. That means people who got divorced once usually got divorced twice. And 70% of the population had gone through this. Now, I think somehow or other, the statistics are not there anymore. Why? Because people don't get married. They just live together. So there's no question of any records of divorce anymore. So rather than go through the whole legal process of divorce, even now, what do? There's a program where I brought this amount of material things into the relationship and you brought this amount. So if we ever get divorced, then I get my share back and you can have your share. And everything else that we gained in our marriage, we can split. So they have this. And this even within devotees, it's there. I don't want to mention any name, but a very dear devotee to me, very close to me. He talks about her partner, not her husband, it's her partner. So yeah, we're seeing the features of Kali Yuga rise its ugly head, where commitment is no longer a factor in people's life. They get married for the wrong reason, and then they can't commit themselves. That's why Prabhupada, when he first began the Hare Krishna movement, he started to do marriages himself. And for a sannyasi to conduct marriages is not the role of a sannyasi. But he did it because there was no one else to do it. So he was marrying his new young disciples. And this went on for 3 years. But then he saw that the devotees who were getting married weren't taking it seriously. So he stopped. He said, you're not taking this seriously. And so he decided not to continue with that program. So, I mean, under certain circumstances, divorce is needed. But the problem is, it's not so much divorce, it's why we get married. What is the cause of that marriage? Is it just physical attraction? That's the problem. If it's physical attraction, as it says, physical attraction wears off between 1 and 2 years. And then one has to live on higher principles based on mutual service to each other and practice of Krishna consciousness. And if there's any problems, and the problems get a little strong, then applying Krishna conscious principles with the help of senior devotees, you can overcome these problems and continue with the marriage. But if we get marriage, yeah, so, I'll be, if this recording gets out, I'll get smashed, Like many senior devotees will say, you're not even practical, you don't even know what's going on in the world, And it's just like this. But I'm talking from the ideal platform. I'm not talking from a platform of compromise. When it comes to compromise, then you have to make some adjustments to the situation in order to make the situation work. And in some cases, things are just not adjustable. So, but I'm talking from the ideal platform. Otherwise, we can come up with our own ideas on how things should go on. I like and I don't like. And people break up for the most inane reasons. And if you don't put the toothpaste cap back on the toothpaste thing, then you don't love me. I've been telling you so many times, don't leave that toothpaste cap off. Yeah, this proves you don't love me. You're trying to ruin the bathroom by keeping the toothpaste uncovered. Yeah, this happens. I can tell you, want to hear a real live story? And that one's a live story, but I don't know the details. This other one was two husband and wife were fighting like crazy. And so they decided to get some counseling. They were on the verge of breaking up. And then the counselor started to ask the question. He asked the man, what is it about your wife that you are not happy with? And he said, she doesn't love me. She doesn't love me. And he said, well, can you indicate how that's understood? He said, yes. Every day she bakes bread. And when she cuts the bread, she always gives me the end piece. This proves she doesn't love me. And then it was found out in this conversation that the woman was Italian. He wasn't, she was. And in Italy, they give the end piece to the person they like the most, considered the best piece. So she was giving him what she felt was the best piece. So this is what is called lack of communication, misunderstanding, assumption. That's why Prabhupada said, husband and wife should do four things together. If you want to sit in the Gita, they should read Krishna book together. They should worship their duties together. They should take the prasadam together. They should chant the holy names together. He mentions these four things in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verse number 8 to 12. So these are, if we keep Krishna in the center, even if there's some disagreement, I was just dealing with a situation today, and then I was complaining about a husband. It's interesting talking about this. There's nothing wrong with the husband, but the wife is expecting something different from the husband. And she's not getting it. And he doesn't understand her need. So, but from a perspective, he's a really good husband. He's a provider, well, nice place, good job, good money, two nice children. Everything is there, but still, she can't, she's still something missing in that relationship that she wants. But he doesn't see it. He sees that what he's giving is what he should give. So you find that one of the biggest problems is miscommunication.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Guru Maharaj. It's, as you said, it's like all miscommunication, misunderstanding. Most of the time, it's like misunderstanding. Yeah. Good much. I just had a question about this here in the purport, like woman is like, low class and high class you have mentioned, but here now in the modern society, if woman doesn't work, she is considered like, low class. I mean, so even though woman doesn't want to work, she was sometimes forced to work because of, external, just to show that, she's working. So how should we handle these things? Like a lot of times woman is like, okay, you need to work, just to prove that, you are working, you're independent.
So the husband is forcing the wife to work?
It's just like, external when we go out, and it's not husband, just external things also. Whenever like we go, woman gets recognition nowadays in the modern society because she's working. If she's not working, means she's not intelligent. She's like, so.
She's also getting exploited out there. What's this recognition? She's working in an office with men. They're looking at her body every once in a while. That's what they do. She's also being exploited. Women are generally underpaid too because of their cheap labor. They think they're getting some freedom, but they're being exploited. A womanhood is shown by her care of the deities, her care of the children, her care of the husband, care of the household. Yeah, especially her care of the husband. She has to care for her husband. Husband gets married to get a wife that cares. Otherwise, why would he get married? If he's not getting that care, sometimes he looks outside for that care with other ladies. We have to understand it's not anyone's fault. It's the society has created this dysfunctional lifestyle where money is, the goal of life, which has nothing to do with the goal of life. Prabhupada said this whole society is based on money. Therefore, it is an artificial society. If you want to cheat, use money. If you want to cover your mistakes, use money. If you want to get something, use money. If you want to go somewhere, you got to have money. Money talks. And so everything is based on money, money, money. I'm not out there, but this is what I hear all the time. You guys are out there. So Krishna consciousness means live according to your needs. And that way you won't have to unnecessarily push the wife out the door where she's subjected to it being exploited and minimized. But women want to work, so what can we do? They've been brainwashed into thinking that a housewife is a very ignoble position. But according to Vedic culture, it's the highest position. A mother is the most glorious of all personalities. A chaste wife, a mother, glorious. And just by those qualities alone, she'll elevate herself practically to the level of Satyaloka.
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.
Sukavaha. Sukavaha. Are you there? I don't think she's there. You can see her name though.
Hare Krishna Guru, please accept my humble obeisances. Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to your lotus feet. Sorry, I was just trying to put my mic on.
Yeah. Are you getting help with that problem you sent to me?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have someone who can also help you who I haven't asked yet.
Okay.
Are you help you need? Or would you like some additional help?
I will, Guru Maharaj.
Hmm?
I will, if I can talk to you sometime.
No, we have Parijata, she's right here. And she's
Oh,
good
okay.
at these. And if you
Uh-huh.
connect with Parijata, she'll straighten you out and move
Okay,
you along.
okay.
She's a resource bank. Whatever you need, she can resource it.
Okay.
So you see Parijata, she's right there. Her name is Prahansa Sharma. Yeah, so connect with her. And Sukava has a very mind-crippling problem. And she needs some help. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Parijata.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Dear devotees, any questions before we end the call here? It's 1 hour past. Just any last minute questions for Guru Maharaj?
Don't call me Guru Maharaj on the air, because not everybody is a disciple.
Okay, Maharaj.
Call me Candramauli,
Okay.
Swami you can. But don't refer to me as Guru Maharaj, because not everybody is a disciple.
Okay, Maharaj. Yeah. So, yes, Rajesh Prabhu, I see your hand raised. You have any last minute question?
Yeah, just maybe it's the wrong time because it may have a long answer. So if it has a long answer, Maharaj, please don't worry. Please leave it. So I think one of the points mentioned in the verse in the purport was that in times gone past, a lady, a woman in civilized society wouldn't be out by herself. But I also read in one of Bhaktivedanta Swami's books about leadership too, an age for higher consciousness, that I think there was a principle that a sign of a civilized society was one where I think a lady could fall asleep under a tree and not be disturbed, and wake up and not be harassed and be able to fall asleep peacefully.
Walking down the streets at night also, without being bothered.
Yeah.
Now you can't not even think about doing that.
Would that have been at one of the higher yugas, Maharaj, when that was able to happen? Was that Satya Yuga or?
Well, in Satya Yuga, people were civilized. They were almost on the platform of Paramahansa. As the yugas go on, that's why in this age, Mandam Sumandam Mateo Manya Bhagu Padataha. Prayena Apayesa Sabda Kalo Yuge Jasmin Sataha. Manda Sumanda Mateo Manya Bhagya Upadataha. People in this age of Kali are lazy, misguided, unlucky, and always disturbed. This is the character description of this age. That's why you have to take the Krishna consciousness. There's no alternative. Either you become Krishna conscious, or you rot in this material world. Parijata.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you and assembled devotees. Oh, it was a heavy class. So I was just trying to absorb a lot of things, and a lot of retrospection was also there, and introspection was also there. And there's some things that I wanted to say, like Mataji said, that people these days, they say a woman is not classy when she's not working. Well, the same is happening in India too. And I'll tell you my experience. I left my work to raise my kids, and I got full support of my husband, Murari Gupta Prabhu. And one day, and this was not too long ago, I think it was 2 months back, my elder daughter, she came from school and she said, "Mom, why don't you work? All women work. Why don't you go and work somewhere? Like my teachers and their other doctors and everybody's mom works, and why don't you work?" And I couldn't answer that question, and I didn't know what to say. And then Murari Gupta Prabhu was there, and then she said that she's here to take care of you, and you're going to remember this for the rest of your life. When all the other kids say, "Oh, our mom was not there when we needed her. We came back from school, she was not there waiting for us, or she didn't help us do the homework, or she didn't make breakfast for us," and all that. But you have all these things, and you're going to remember this. Maybe she's a little girl, and then she doesn't know my role yet. But then he had to counsel me too, that it's okay. I mean, like, you do have some talents, and it's not necessary that you have to go out there when you are being provided for and you're well taken care of at home. So just enjoy this time, and when they grow up, you can work. And I'm fine with that. So yes, that happens. But sometimes some women don't have that luxury. They have to work. For example, if they get married to a wrong person, or a person is not taking care of them, then they have to work. So this is also a woman's way of showing care and affection, by working and providing for the children. My mom did that for me. Well, yes, of course, we missed few things, but then some women don't have the option now, these days. So that's also their way of caring. And plus, about being, there was a mention about shyness. In today's world, I can say you can be classy by not, revealing your bodies too much. And for example, we have the most classiest women that we can see today in today's world are the women from the royal families across the world. And in India also, you just have to Google and see how they're dressed. And even the royal women from the UK's royal family, just see how Queen Elizabeth, she dressed herself, and her daughters and relatives, everyone, they're so dignified. So we can take inspiration from them. Even though you wear Indian attire or Western attire, you just have to be dignified. So that's also called maintaining that kind of shyness. You maintain your and uphold your what do you say? Dignity that way. So we can take inspiration from these women. It's not necessary that we have to be half naked in order to fit in the world. These days it's a trend. The lesser you're dressed, the better it is. So I had a problem with that, and I think it's quite unclassy to do that. Of course, when people go to beach, they wear the swimwears. That's different, but we don't have to wear the swimwears while we're walking on the roads. So I think a cultural, so I think there's lack of, because of the lack of spiritual life and lack of culture and the cultural orientation, this is happening because weird things are happening across the world. Weird things are happening in India too, especially what's happening now. We're seeing the anti-hijab protest happening in Iran. A woman was killed because some few strands of hair were like out of her hijab, and then she was beaten to death. So we don't need to go to the extremities of that. I mean, like if something like that happens in India, it will be a chaos. Women don't want hijab. Women don't want to be locked in their homes. But even though you're not wearing a hijab, but you can be dignified, you can be dressed in a nice way, not to invite unnecessary attention. Nobody is asking us to wear burqa, but we can be nicely dressed in a sari or salwar kameez, or even in the Western clothes. There are options to dress in a good way. And there has been quite a discussion in India about the parda system. There was a mention in the verse that the Muslims brought this. Their way was quite, their way was quite fanatical. A kind of brutal way to keep women, and their attire. I don't want to be critical about that, but their attire is like they suggest their women to wear black burqa. That actually leads to a lot of health problems. It's not doable because it deprives them of vitamin D. They can't go out in the sun. They have to stay indoors. And when they're out in the sun, they're wearing that. And most women do have a lot of vitamin D issues and bones issues, Muslim women. That's what my Muslim friend told me. So it's not a good thing. But we devotee women, I think we should be careful about how we dress. There are ways to be modern as well as cultural. You know, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying right now. I don't know how many people are, how they're going to take it, but it's just a suggestion that we can be classy. It's just that we need to follow the right examples. In the society, there are many women we can look up to who are very dignified and who are working also, and who are making a lot of money too, who are spiritually inclined too. So that was my observation and my suggestion.
It's a feminine in nature to want to look nice, to want to dress
we
nice.
Can look nice, but you know, in a dignified way. Yes.
Yeah, dignified, and yeah, and just like, you know, putting flowers in the hair, you don't see that so much. I'm here in Govardhan Eco Village. I'm overlooking some gardens that the local people are working our gardens, and these are just these are tribal ladies. They live in the villages, and they come when they're working. I see they pick flowers and put them in their hair, and then they go on with working. It's the feminine feature. Need nature to want to, you know, decorate themselves. It's normal. But how you do it and what you use for decorations are both seem to be the difference between, you know, something that is beneficial for you, and also what we say gives pleasure to others. Because Prabhupada said, we eat to please ourselves, we dress to please others. That's not Prabhupada, that's Chanakya Pandit. Prabhupada quoted that. So it's good to look presentable when you're outside in such a way that it's called demure, very chaste, but very nice. Yeah. I find myself automatically complimenting somebody when they're dressed really nicely. Sometimes some of the compliments are directed towards women, and they look at me like, "Why you're a sannyasi, or you're noticing the beauty?" No, I'm just appreciating that you're taking time to look nice. You know, nowadays they go out with purple hair. One side's purple, one side's green, and then, you know, there's like cuts in the jeans right at the knees, you know, and the pockets are hanging out. This is considered to be advancement. It is an advancement towards health. That's what it is. Thank you, Parajata. You said a lot there, and that point is good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji, for
questions.
Yeah. Any last minute questions for Maharaj? So Maharaj, I don't see
Just a quick thank you to Reverend Mataji, all devotees, for allowing me to join such an amazing group of devotees. And Maharaj, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, great days. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming, and we thank Philip for coming today as his debut. Please keep coming.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you for letting me in here. I look forward to keep joining here.
So
Okay, basis
Maharaj,
Vichapatitanam Pavebhyo Vaishvebhyo Namo Namo Gaurbhaktivinoda ki
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Kavaha, make sure you take help. Help is available. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, all devotees, for your wonderful association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Om.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj.